Hey, how's it going, guys? Mr. Boss for the win here. And in today's GTA video, we're going to be talking about how this might be bad news for the release date of GTA 6. We'll hear from insider Tom Henderson, as well as a couple of comments made from Take-Two Interactive CEO and Chairman Strauss Zelnick. He made a couple of interesting comments on their earnings report the other day that suggest we might be a bit away from Grand Theft Auto 6. So let's start with Tom Henderson. He said, GTA 5 is generating around $250 million in revenue each quarter. Epic Games introducing GTA 5 for free in addition to the pandemic has resulted in GTA 5 earning more each quarter now since its launch in 2013. And following up by saying GTA 6 is several years away. And Tom is right. So what we're going to look at right now is GTA's revenue. You can see the launch of GTA 5 back in 2013. And you can see that obviously you had that initial spike. And over the next couple of years, it really hovered around $200 million, sometimes spiking a little bit higher than that. And especially with the release of PlayStation 4, Xbox One, coming out on PC, you guys can see there that really every time there's like an update and when the Epic Games Store freebie came out, revenues tends to spike for Rockstar. In fact, their most recent one was one of the best quarters that they've had. So Grand Theft Auto 6 could be years away if GTA 5 is still making money hand over fist. I think that's the argument that he is ultimately making right there. And so I guess if you were to just look at those numbers, you would say, okay, the reason we don't have GTA 6 is because people are buying the game again on, the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and even coming up soon, the new consoles, PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. And they're paying a lot of money for stuff in online, microtransactions, shark cards, stuff like that. But it's actually a little bit deeper than that. And it's way deeper than just stop playing GTA 5. That gets you GTA 6. And that was apparent in their earnings call that we actually got some notes from yesterday. So let's take a look at some of those questions that they answered at the very end. So someone called in and they said, "Good afternoon. Thank you for taking my question. My first one is about how you account for the shifts in business models and player taste in games that have a much longer development cycle than a typical annual release." And Strauss Zelnick said, "I'm not sure I entirely follow your question. The development cycle for our core immersive titles are still significant. It takes some time to make what we hope will be the best titles in the business. And the development cycles are not getting shorter for core immersive releases. And I wouldn't necessarily expect them to. I think what's changed is that in between big releases, like GTA 6, Red Dead Redemption 2, GTA 5, we continue to engage consumers with add-on content and with opportunities to engage in online versions of the game in certain instances, multiplayer opportunities as well. So that's what's created recurrent consumer spending. But much more importantly, recurrent consumer spending reflects consumer activity and engagement. But that doesn't really change development cycles. So what Strauss Zelnick is trying to say there is that the money being made from Grand Theft Auto Online and GTA 5 is not changing how long it's taking Grand Theft Auto 6 to ultimately come out. If anything, I think it's just buying them more opportunity to get the game right and to put more money into making the game as perfect as they expect. I think that's the point that Strauss Zelnick is trying to get across here. Now, it certainly takes the pressure off when a game from 8 years ago is making nearly $250 million every quarter. It doesn't really put a lot of pressure on you to come out with a new one of those titles because it's still making money hand over fist. But he's basically saying the development cycles for these games like GTA 6 are getting much longer. And we'll talk about what that core immersive release is a little bit later. There's a little chart we'll take a peek at. But anyways, let's move on to another question. I think this user, Garrick, was asking if any of their future titles were being delayed and why they haven't come out yet. And Strauss said, "We needed more time to polish them and make sure that the best title as they possibly can be." And he asked if it had anything to do with COVID, and he said, "No. Our team has been incredibly productive throughout the pandemic, and even though we have a lot of work going on, its own productivity is high." So this is actually good news because I would assume the pandemic would have slowed down a lot of progress with GTA 6. But it looks like Rockstar and Take-Two Interactive have been able to power through that, and there haven't been delays because of that. There would only be a delay because Rockstar wants to have perfection when it comes to the next Grand Theft Auto title. That's what I would imagine. And the last question we'll look at today, which we'll talk about a graph after that. He said, I'm curious to the latest thoughts around console supply and demand. And then just secondly, you guys have talked a lot about the pipeline numbers of releases for fiscal 23 and fiscal 24. You've talked about expecting sequential growth in fiscal 23, and you've talked about getting to new record operating results in the years as well. And Strauss Zelnick said, in terms of the pipeline, yes, we said we expected sequential growth in fiscal 23, and we expect to set new operating records in the coming years. And we still have both those expectations. I think that is good news. If they're expecting to set records in the coming years, I think there has to be a massive title coming out. And I would suspect that would be GTA 6. And then looking at their plan for the next couple of years, you can see the one we want to focus on here is Immersive Core. That would be like your Grand Theft Auto, Red Dead Redemption games. So in fiscal 2022, they're going to come out with 4. And in fiscal 23 and 24, they're going to come out with 19. Is one of those titles GTA 6? And if that's the case, is that why they are expecting to break all these records? In fact, they've hired over 1,500 developers over the last 2 years, and they say it will be the strongest pipeline over the next few years, including releases from new and existing franchises. So an existing franchise, that's Grand Theft Auto, of course. In fact, it's probably the biggest existing franchise. So a little bit of good news here, but also some bad news, I would say, for the release date of GTA 6, because it just doesn't look like it's coming anytime soon with the success of Grand Theft Auto 5 and the success of Grand Theft Auto Online in particular. In fact, a couple of the other nuggets they talked about in the conference call, Grand Theft Auto Online had the largest number of players and the highest level of net bookings since 2013. That means more people paid for shark cards with the release of Los Santos tuners than ever before. And to add on to that, 77% increase of new players, and recurrent consumer spending for GTA Online was 72% in the first quarter of 2020. That is incredible. So it's numbers like that that I think are going to cause, I wouldn't necessarily a delay, but just the ability for Rockstar to take their time when it comes to getting GTA 6 out the door. But anyways, that is all the information that I've got for you guys in this video today. Hopefully you did enjoy. I'd love to hear from you guys in those comments down below. What do you think about the information we talked about in this video today and how it relates to Grand Theft Auto 6? Do you think this is bad news, good news, somewhere in between? Let me know what you guys are thinking about in those comments down below. I'd love to hear from you guys down there. If you guys did go on to enjoy this video, though, a like rating would, of course, be awesome. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel if you are new. You want to stay up to date on all the latest GTA and all the Rockstar Games videos that I'm doing here on my channel. And be sure to ring that notification bell as well. Sometimes YouTube just doesn't work, and if you ring that bell, you'll always be guaranteed to be notified when new videos arrive. But of course, as always, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you guys in the next video.